Hi, my name is Nicole. Welcome to my channel Travel to Money. In this video, I'm going to tell you all about my trip to Artena and Rome, Italy. I'll tell you about the incredible places, people, the mistakes I made, and lessons I learned, and all the reasons that you should visit. If you are new here, I have created this channel to help you learn about how to travel, adventure, and have fun on the road to financial independence. I have traveled the world, I own a couple of houses in Spain, and I'm on a creative journey to financial independence. I believe the road to financial freedom can and should be fun. I hope you'll subscribe and join me on this journey, no matter where you are starting from. A handful of years ago, I set off on my first world travel adventure. After my first stop in Paris, France, I made my way to the small town of Artena, Italy. I learned a whole lot of lessons on this particular part of the journey, fell in love with Italy, met some wonderful couch surfers, and I can't wait to go back. Hopefully soon. But this time I'll be more prepared. And if you haven't been before, hopefully this video will keep you from making some of the mistakes that I did. The first mistake I made had to do either with the location of my Airbnb or not renting a car. Honestly, changing the location or renting a car would have made a big difference for me. Public transportation is common throughout Europe, but after this experience in Italy, visiting a small island in Greece, living in a small town in Spain, and other European experiences, I can tell you that once you get outside of the city, your options for getting around easily can quickly become limited. I booked an Airbnb in the small town of Artena, Italy, and even though there were moments that the experience was frustrating, I'm so glad I went because I probably wouldn't own a home in Spain right now if it wasn't for that visit to Italy. When I book my long-term travels, instead of saying, this is the list of exact cities I want to go to, I'll select a period of around a month or two, and then I'll look at all of the options over a huge area. In the case of Europe, I would put in a whole month of time and then look over all of Europe for the best Airbnb deals. A mistake that many people make when traveling is thinking that they want to go to a specific place at a specific time. I have learned that some of the best places that I've visited have been places that I never would have known about, but they ended up being some of the most incredible experiences. In this case, I was able to get an awesome 2-week deal in Paris, followed by a great deal for a month in Artena, Italy, which is a village outside of Rome. Another thing to know about Europe is that you can often get a plane ticket from country to country for less than €50. It's like the cheap flights we get in the US from one state to another. I don't think I've ever paid more than $75 for a flight within Europe. All of that to say, the cost of your Airbnb would be the more important thing to consider. I wouldn't worry too much about the cost of transportation between countries. The cost of my Airbnb in Artena, Italy came to $836.36, and I stayed for 31 nights. That comes to around $27 per night. It's not the cheapest Airbnb deal I've ever found, but not bad for a month, especially considering that I have the entire house and I don't have to pay utilities. Now, considering this village was quite a bit outside of Rome, the host of my Airbnb did recommend renting a car. But I had one problem. I was in Paris when I decided to look into car rental in Italy. It was then I found out I needed an international driving permit in order to rent a car, which at the time you were only able to obtain while in your home country. This was one of the biggest mistakes of my first trip. It baffled me. I had been watching travel videos and reading travel blogs for 7 months in preparation for this trip. Not one single person had said a single word about an international driving permit. Not one word. How was something this important not regularly addressed? As I began reading more, some people had commented that you could still rent a car without an international driving permit, but if you got pulled over, you could end up in a lot of trouble. Basically, the onus was not on the rental car company, but on you. I guess I should probably make a whole video about getting your international driving permit because it's easy, and in some cases now it's required at the rental car counter. Okay, so back to the story. I decided to play it safe and not rent a car. When I was leaving France for Italy, I had just been to the eye doctor after nearly going blind in one eye from a condition known as anterior uveitis. I only had about 10% of vision left in that eye and had to keep the eyelid dilated, so I basically looked like a crazy person, not to mention the white part of my eye was blood red. I wore sunglasses at all times, and people probably thought I was trying to be cool or something, but I was just trying to keep from looking insane. Anyhow, I took the relatively short flight from Paris to Rome, found a sandwich for lunch in the airport, and then set off on a train ride to the central station, followed by another train ride and then a bus ride to get to the little village of Artena. It was a good thing that I only had one very large backpack and a shoulder bag because I had a half-mile walk up the mountain in the drizzle to get to my Airbnb. I wasn't expecting to arrive so late, but I believe I got to the house around 9 p.m. At this point, I hadn't had anything to eat since the sandwich in the airport, and I had zero food with me. When I walked into the Airbnb, there was absolutely nothing to eat or drink. That trip is one of the reasons that as an Airbnb host, I always leave snack bars, bottles of water, and coffee for my guests. I had to walk back down the mountain road in the drizzle to find the only open bar, and luckily a sweet woman who was able to speak to me in English. It was only after I ordered a sandwich from her that I found out that they don't take credit cards. So off I went in the dark to various ATMs until I was finally able to take out some cash to go pay for the sandwich. I was exhausted and hungry, but I didn't think it would be smart to give up before getting any food. One of the lessons I learned is to always keep a couple of protein bars with me, and another lesson was to always have cash on hand. Honestly, I can be a little spoiled by city culture where you have everything at your fingertips with the swipe of a card. This was back in 2017, but even then it felt really wild that I couldn't find food with a credit card. I wouldn't be surprised if places like that are taking cards now, but I also wouldn't be surprised if they aren't. A lot of small European towns can be very slow to adopt technology. And you know what? There's something really beautiful about that. I did absolutely fall in love with the town of Artena, but I was struggling here. I didn't know enough Italian, transportation outside of the town was difficult, I still didn't have eyesight in one eye, and within a week I had a back spasm so bad that it left me lying on the floor, not knowing what to do or who to call. I found out that one of my best friends and her daughter were going to be traveling to the UK to sing the following weekend, and I decided to take a quick weekend trip to visit them. I really needed that trip from a mental and emotional standpoint. I needed to see people who loved me. I needed a reset. I returned with a bit of renewed sense of spirit, ready to take on Italy again. One weekend I decided that I would take a train into Rome. I'm the dummy that got on the train going in the wrong direction, and it literally turned into the most impossible mess. Not only did I not get to Rome, I almost couldn't even get back to my village. Getting there ended up involving a bus, following a stranger who helped me chase a train, getting help from the police for a taxi because getting to my village isn't walkable and there were no more buses for the day. I literally spent the whole entire day just trying to get home. I was so exhausted that I gave up and decided to try again the next weekend. I work from home, and so the weekends were really the only space that I had the time to get out and explore. When I'm staying inside a city, it's so much easier because I can wake up and explore in the morning and still be home by the early afternoon to begin my work. The following weekend, I decided to meet up with a couch surfer who was going to show me around Rome. Honestly, he was so patient, more patient than I would have been. I believe I told him I was going to be there at 11 a.m. The trains and stops all took so much longer than I thought, and then I lost my phone signal and couldn't even message him to let him know how late I was. I believe I arrived around 2 hours later than I had stated, and he was still there waiting for me. I rode on the back of his motorcycle and he showed me the Colosseum, a beautiful park, some of the Catholic churches, and more. We had a lovely coffee and some olives at a cafe. He was working on his English and was such a lovely guide. He then took me on his bike back to the train station. This time I found my way home with a bit more ease, but it certainly took up a chunk of the day. Because I wanted to see more of Rome, for my last full weekend, I decided to splurge a bit and book a hotel in the city from Friday to Sunday. 3 days and 2 nights. I stayed at Hotel San Anselmo, which is very centrally located. The 2 night stay cost me a total of 128 US dollars. Not bad at all. I was so impressed when I walked in and was handed a drink with a bellman taking my bags. It was very luxurious for the price. The decor of the hotel reminded me of something out of Beauty and the Beast. Each morning there was a complimentary breakfast included, and it's one of the best breakfast options I've ever had at a hotel. I met up with a couple of different couch surfers during that weekend. One took me on a walking tour to see more of Rome. Another took me for a delicious Italian dinner. And on my last day, I met up with two couch surfers who also didn't know each other, and the three of us visited the Vatican Museum together. If you're wondering what I'm talking about when I say couch surfers or couch surfing, you should definitely watch this video right up here. Anyhow, that weekend in Rome was nothing short of magical. I'll never forget it. It is probably the biggest reason that I look forward to going back. I think when I travel solo, I definitely need to be in bigger cities. Small towns are easier if you have a companion. For me, as much as I loved Artena, I really struggled with loneliness there. One of the reasons I'm most grateful for my time in Artena is because of the Airbnb I stayed in. This cute little house built into the side of a mountain. One night I was thinking to myself, I wonder how much it would cost to buy a cute little house like this. I decided to Google real estate in Artena, Italy. I ended up finding similar homes to this one that needed a little bit of work, listed for around 30,000 euro. I had never heard of homes in that price range. I didn't know they even existed. That little seed planted the dream of owning a home internationally. Instead of Italy, I ended up choosing Spain. But who cares, right? We can all just take a thought and let it grow into what it is supposed to be for us. I do hope you'll consider visiting Italy, and specifically Rome. I cannot wait to explore more of Italy. Just remember the lessons I mentioned. Don't make the same mistakes that I did. You'll save yourself some trouble and have a more enjoyable time. If you've learned something or enjoyed this video, please like it and subscribe to join me every day where travel and adventure build financial freedom. I can't wait to see where your dreams will take you.